people who are as part of this morning's charter launch and others who are not here today. This work has been in progress for more than a year. There was a motion that was passed by the City Council a year ago to make Oxford an anti-racist city, alongside a motion that was passed to make for the council to acknowledge the definition of anti-Semitism and also Islamophobia. We also passed a motion that went to say that we believe that Oxford should also be a city of refuge, a city which is pro-migrants and pro-refugees. So this work has been going on for a year. In the meantime, a lot of things have changed in the world, as we all know. We are currently in the middle of a pandemic, which is disproportionately impacting the lives of ethnic minorities and Black people, not only here in Oxford, but across the country. There has been a devastating death rate, which very horrifically continues to rise. People of all walks of life are being impacted by COVID-19, but we do know from the data that disproportionately Black people and people of colour are being impacted. We've also seen some of the biggest protests ever in the United Kingdom on the back of the horrific murder, the racist murder of George Floyd in the United States of America, which has reinvigorated the global Black Lives Matter movement, which has been around since 2016. But this horrific murder, which was captured by video cameras, as we know, and broadcast around the world, very much captured people's imagination and made people understand that racism is very much alive and it is devastating people's lives. Here in Oxford, we saw large numbers of people taking to the streets to protest. And for the first time in a very, very long time, we saw the town and the gown connecting to stand in solidarity, not only with George Floyd's family and his friends, but also to stand against racism in all its forms and to demand change. And this is why we are here this morning. So just to focus back here on Oxford again. So as we know, Oxford is a very diverse city. It is a city with a very young population. We have a 33% BAME population. It is also a city that is known internationally. It is a world famous global city, known for its universities, known for its science, its technology, its innovation, known for its cultural input to the world. But the Oxford that I know, I was born and raised here, is very much all those things, but it's also an Oxford that isn't often seen by the outside world. It's a really dynamic, racially diverse city with a lot of talent, a lot of very incredible talent, I'd like to say. And some of that talent is joining us here this morning as well. So this anti-racism charter is the beginning of a conversation that we are planning to develop as a city council. We believe very strongly that anti-racism has to be at the heart of all our work as a city council. It has to cut through all our policy on housing, on all of the services that we provide with the people of this city. We should also say that anti-racism is something that belongs to every single one of us. It doesn't belong to one group or one individual, it belongs to everyone. And we have to be active in our anti-racism. It is not enough for us to believe that we are anti-racist, we have to be anti-racist. This means consciously going out of our way to develop a better understanding of power dynamics, of privileges, of how our city is set up and how it operates. Now, Oxford is a city of great privilege, as we know, but it's also a city which is deeply unequal, where there's a lot of deprivation, and COVID-19, as I said, the beginning of this introduction is really showing the deep levels of inequity and inequality across this country. And a lot of this is racialized, and it's very important for us to recognize this. Part of this anti-racism work that the council has launched has been, rightly so, about listening to people, about changing the tone of how we are engaging with people and with communities, with going out of our way to engage with a broader range of people and to understand far more clearly about how some people in some communities have not felt that they've been listened to, they've not felt visible. So over the past few months and weeks, the council has conducted a consultation process where there have been many different groups who have reached out to say that they wanted to come and be part of the process. We're delighted that's happened. So there's been a lot of discussion and some very powerful and very moving conversations have taken place. They have been conducted in a very respectful way where people have listened, which is essential if we're to move anything forward. People have actively listened to each other. They have wanted to understand each other's positionality, each other's lived experiences, and to find a way to move this work forward. And I think this really is essential, and this is the key to this work. So there is a lot of hurt. There is a deep sense of hurt amongst some people in some communities, and we need to acknowledge that as well. We can only have genuine, honest, transformative conversations if they are truthful conversations. And often truthful conversations are deeply uncomfortable. And one of the other messages we want to get across this morning, and indeed as we develop this work, is anti-racism work is uncomfortable. If it's going to be done properly, it has to be uncomfortable because it has to be challenging. It has to challenge every single one of us. This is not about pointing fingers or attaching blame. This is about trying to move things forward in a compassionate and kind way, but ultimately in a way that will make change. And as someone, as I said, born and raised in this city to a proud working class Pakistani parents, I remember as a child being terrified of racists in my city. I remember being terrified of the violence that they particularly directed towards my father, my late father at the time. And as a child, that stayed with me. And now I'm an aunt to many young nieces and nephews who I'm very proud of. And they're living in a time of great uncertainty, perhaps more uncertainty than I was when I was their age. And, you know, the anxiety amongst our young people is very high, and indeed amongst other people of all ages. And I think we have a real moment here in Oxford to get behind this charter, to get behind all community groups, whatever the perspectives are, to stand together, because ultimately, whatever our perspectives are, however we're coming to this work, all those perspectives, all those viewpoints are valid. Anti-racism work that cannot allow a hierarchy of racism. It has to drill down and it has to do the difficult work that is urgently needed to make change. And that's why we're here. So what I'm going to do now is introduce a video from Councillor Marie Tidball, which is focusing on making the city work for everyone. So if I could ask our IT colleagues to ensure we could see that video, please. Okay, we are now all functioning in the world of Zoom, so often there are a few delays. So we'll just give it a few more seconds and see if we can get that video up. Okay, I think at the moment we're unable to get the video up, but we will go back to that video as soon as we can. So in the meantime, I would like to introduce Joseph. In fact, Joseph, I'd like you to introduce yourself if that's okay. We seem to have some movement here on this video. Let's see what's going on. Okay.
On the 9th of August 2019, Oxford City Council, through our democratic decision-making process at Full Council, agreed to make Oxford an anti-racist city. Today, we are launching our Anti-Racism Charter. This unites a number of other commitments we have made through this democratic process, including our adoption of the all-party parliamentary group definition on Islamophobia, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, and our commitment to being a city of sanctuary. These commitments are the building blocks for the creation of this charter. Our charter and all signatories to it adopt these definitions as part of our understanding of racism and the actions we take to tackle it. However, this list is not exhaustive and does not include all the many types of racism people in our city might experience. During the same period that we witnessed the tragic death of George Floyd and the powerful work of the Black Lives Matter movement, we have seen the disproportionate impact of the pandemic on ethnic minorities and people of colour. As a result of all these racial injustices, Oxford is adopting a specific definition of anti-Black racism in this charter. We also recognise that there are many layers to racism and discrimination. This means such racism impacts on people differently because of other human characteristics: age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, religion or belief, sex, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. These characteristics intersect, they overlap and impact on each other, and must be reflected in the difficult and often uncomfortable conversations we need to have to realise our collective aspirations to be a just, fair, and more equal anti-racist city. The Charter is part of Oxford City Council's work as an anti-racist city, but it is not the whole story. We are currently developing an equality review with extensive input from people across Oxford. We have already held 15 focus groups with contributions from more than 140 people. One of the actions of this review will be to launch a race advisory group to ensure that the lived experiences of ethnic minorities and people of colour are further integrated into all aspects of our work. Our review will be published and open to the public in a consultation later this year. I am grateful to all the work that has gone into producing this charter. We are a city making an active and conscious effort to have difficult and often uncomfortable conversations about what it means in practice to be anti-racist, both as individuals and across our organisations and institutions. We are a city working together to change our thinking of racism as conscious, intentional and explicit actions, to also understanding when it is unconscious, unintentional and indirect actions too. We recognise that although racism does happen to and by individuals, it can often be institutional as well. Racist actions which are embedded in an organisation and the way it behaves towards certain groups and individuals. Without understanding the root causes of racism and how it affects people, we cannot dismantle the institutional structures which give rise to it, that result in inequality and unfair outcomes for people and people of colour. That is why this is a living charter. It will be reviewed and renewed annually during Black History Month. The Council is clear that this charter is the beginning of a conversation, and the charter will need to evolve over time to ensure that year on year progress is being made. The charter outlines the principles of anti-racism, and each signatory commits to undertaking practical actions to achieve them. It also demonstrates our commitment to being anti-racist and lays the foundations to advance equality of opportunity for all ethnic minorities and people of colour in our city. For this city to fulfil its potential, it is imperative that all sections of the community live and work in a safe environment that enables them to thrive. This ambition has never been more important than now, with COVID-19 undermining the chances of citizens through lost jobs, ill health and increased isolation. We cannot afford to let racism undermine that determination, that every person in this city has much to contribute to improving the quality of all our lives. We need that flowering of collective effort now more than ever. Doreen Lawrence has, in her review published this week, made a powerful rallying cry to end structural racism. Our charter is an important step to collectively committing to doing this, to being proactive in making Oxford an anti-racist city. We hope organisations and institutions across Oxford will join us to sign it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marie Tidball, for your very poignant words. We will now move on to ask Joseph to introduce yourself, Joseph, and you will be talking a little bit about the production of the Charter.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aziz, and thank you, Councillor Tipple, for your words then. I'd just like to start by firstly thanking everybody who's put their input into developing this charter, and also to the City Council for the positive stance they've taken on developing this charter to support anti-racism. It's a huge step forward, and no matter which way we look at it, for people of colour, from ethnic minority groups, this is a huge step in the right direction to becoming an anti-racist city. My name is Joseph Barrett and I manage the Youth Ambition team of the City Council. So my main role is a youth worker, supporting disadvantaged and vulnerable young people in particular to achieve their full potential and thrive when they get into their adulthood. Racial inequalities and barriers is often the hugest barrier stopping people to achieve full potential. And growing up in Blackbird Leys and being very local and being a mixed race man who faced many of those intersectionalities growing up, I really can't begin to explain what a privilege it is to be a part of a journey that's going to hopefully leave legacy in the city, and also you know, take apart some of these things that have impacted my life and that of my family, friends and colleagues. The development of the charter, we, as Councillor Aziz mentioned, we did our equality, diversity and inclusion strategy, and we did many focus groups, and as part of that we wanted to develop this charter. So we spoke to our partners and we spoke to different organisations and different people. And personally, I've learned so much from those conversations. And again, a big thank you to those people that were brave enough to share their lived experiences with us and help to shape the charter. And I really do hope that when they read the final version, they will be able to hear their voice in it. And ultimately, we want to have everybody's voice represented in this, and that's why it is a living document. When people did share their lived experiences, it did create a lot of debates around, you know, different terminologies used, different ways in which we view things, and different perspectives, which is fantastic. And these rich conversations help to enhance what was in the charter. And when people have the opportunity to read it, which they will do after this conference, they will see that it is representative of so many different diverse backgrounds. I'd like to just talk about some of my lived experiences. As I am from here, I am from Oxford, and I'm really proud of it. And I'd like to just talk about, firstly, my first experiences with racism. Now, growing up in Blackbird Leys, a very diverse area growing up, I had lots of friends from a variety of backgrounds. And I didn't really know what racism was. I had a good family, I had parents who looked after me, and probably, and many times, probably shielded me from comments or different sort of racial slurs that could have come my way. And I'm really thankful for that. But when I got to around 10, 11, I wanted to do what a lot of my friends wanted to do, and that was play football. And that's when I started really seeing what racism was, and actually firsthand seeing it live in the flesh. And I cannot explain to you how many times we had a football team who were very good, and we had a diverse team from all over the county. We had players from out of the city wanting to come and play for us, you know, just to be part of our organisation. And when we travelled away to certain games, it's really sad that at 10 or 11 years old, I had comments towards myself and my friends about, you know, in relation to animals, chants that would come out, and these are from grown people, not normally from the young people playing, because, you know, I think a lot of this is learnt behaviour, but the adults there, and the comments around things like, when we go to the away game, we better go in an armoured car, or we better wear our stab vests. And as young people, what happened was we laughed about it and we joked about it and we was protected by the adults around us. But it wasn't until I became an adult that I reflected on that, and that's absolutely not on. No young person should have to listen to that. We shouldn't have to accept that, and we shouldn't have to be treated in that way, especially when the only thing we turned up to do was play football, and we did that really well. And these are some of the issues that we face, and as a youth worker, working with young people to educate them, support them to educate themselves is really key to me. And today, this launch, it matters for so many different reasons. It is momentous in more than one way. As people of colour, we've always faced barriers in all elements of our life, whether it's education, whether it's work, whether it's in our hometown or our area. And we really want to live in a society that's free from racism and inequality. It was mentioned earlier that this will involve really difficult conversations, but it's time that we had them. We need to have these conversations. If we don't have these conversations, we can't progress. And I think we are in a great position to help support those conversations and discuss with our partners and our groups and our communities the ways in which we can move forward. And this brings me on to the next part of the briefing this morning. And I am really proud as a youth worker. I'm going to be introducing a project called Blueprint, who have created a song especially for this day. The song is representative of their views on what Black history meant to them. And it was really awakening for me that a lot of them didn't really understand what Black history was. They mentioned typical things like Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King, but ultimately they didn't even know their own backgrounds, not all of them anyway. So we did start speaking about their lived experiences and how they've grown up and what they've faced in their lives. I just want to stress that the importance isn't just about the track. It is an amazing track, and I can vouch for this. It's fantastic, and I genuinely love it. It was produced, the track was actually produced by a young person. The lyrics are all lyrics written and performed by the young people. They don't necessarily reflect the views of everybody, but this is their lived experience. I want to make that very clear. We need to understand and relate to the origins of these issues that young people are expressing and think about where these views came from. Some people might find them uncomfortable, but we have to go into those uncomfortable areas if we want to make any changes. So I would just like to give a shout out to the Blueprint Project, to all the young people that have been involved, to the artists, all local that have been involved. And I just want to leave it with, we opened this project to support young people who needed some support in their life, some mentoring and some guidance. When we got the referrals from statutory organisations, from partners, it goes without saying that 90% of the referrals were young people of colour. So it's quite clear that people are visually seeing that these are the young people that need the support, that are facing the most discrimination and the most barriers to achieving success. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Harry now from IT to just ensure we can play that video. And I really, really hope you enjoy it. They will be watching and they're going to be really proud of themselves when they see this production. Thank you.
If there's one thing I know, it's not easy being me. But now that I've been told, I know that I can achieve. Take some time to see how where we were to where we now. I can achieve, yeah. There's no stopping me, yeah.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Not everyone wants to scream Black lives matter. It took an innocent man's life away to scream Black lives matter. When we realised that we need to stick together, it said we kill and rob. It says for God, man, it's wrong. Yo, man, it's wrong. Yo, we went to war for no reason. Another black man taken like Liam Neeson. A white man could pull up to the school like God and choose who's right or wrong. But at the end of the day, man, we've all just lost. My friends couldn't get searched and stopped for the clothes that they copped. Cops thinking that we're all pots that need to be filled with lies and put in a box. I'm still waiting for the violence to stop. I'm still waiting for that violence to stop. Yeah, we need to stand together and scream Black Lives Matter. I said Black Lives Matter.
I don't even know why my G's get it worse. They're fed up even out here trying to put them in a hearse. You know it's getting bad when you think your skin's a curse. Even old ladies are getting scared and gripping on their purse. RIP R.I.P. George Floyd and R.I.P. Mark Duggan. Everyone needs to know these names, even all the young'uns. When people see my G's, there's a silent discussion. I don't know why, but the government's just trying to crush me.
There's one thing I know, it's not easy being me. But now that I've been told, I know that I can achieve. Take some time to see how where we were to where we now. I can achieve, yeah. There's no stopping me.
Black is beauty, but ain't as easy. Black in everything that you see on TV. People saying this is criminals, but maybe that's subliminal that they did free blacks is a miracle. Took a history, they took a culture, they took our souls, just like vultures. We asked them to tear down the sculptures. Instead it's knees and the necks and they choked us.
Every day on the news that black life is lost. Police officers moving scatty and lost. Another one lost to a bullet in his head, covered in red cause they never made arrest. Wake up and open up your eyelids. Use your voices instead of violence. Put your fist up, break the silence, cause we're all looking for guidance. Aye.
If there's one thing I know, it's not easy being me. But now that I've been told, I know that I can achieve. Take some time to see how where we were to where we now. I can achieve, yeah. There's no stopping me.
Thank you, Joseph, and thank you to the incredible Blueprint Project. I'm sure we'll all agree that was incredibly powerful and also just brilliant lyricism, fantastic music, and it was great to be able to recognise quite a few of those youngsters and the people working with them. And I see you're smiling very broadly there, Joseph, as rightly as you should. And just to pick up on what you said, this is very emotional work. And I really appreciate you sharing your story here as well in this space, Joseph. So thank you very much for your generosity for doing so. And I think sharing that story and hearing those young people's stories and lived realities absolutely 100% goes to the heart of anti-racism work, and it goes to the heart of creating a city for everyone. And at the beginning of your talk, you said, I'm from here, Joseph, and you said it was such conviction and pride. And I think this is also something we need to really acknowledge, that we are from here, but for many in our society, and indeed not just in Oxford and elsewhere, we have to constantly be almost legitimizing the fact that we are from here and that we do belong here, and that we are contributing to this country in the ways our parents' generations did in a different way to us. And this is something that is very painful for people of colour, people from ethnic minorities, because we're constantly having to justify our existence, especially in the current climate that we're in. And I also just want to acknowledge that, as you rightly point out, Joseph, this is a big moment for our colleagues. So this is, our colleagues are also part of the city's residents and citizens as well. And so this moment that we're here to recognise is very much for each of you as well. And thank you for the work you've been doing. So without further ado, our next guest, who is going to talk about the vision for the city and equality, is Chief Executive of Oxford City Council, Gordon Mitchell. So if I hand over to you, Gordon.
Hi, thanks, Shaista. Really pleased to have the chance to join today briefly, and what a fantastic video. I mean, as you say, it's really insightful and inspiring. So, I mean, I've been asked just to say a few words before we symbolically sign the charter. So that's what I'm going to do. I mean, this feels like a really important time for the city and its evolution. I mean, lots of things are changing. The city is a place close to all of our hearts, but it's not just buildings and neighborhoods. A city is also about its people and about its communities, and it's part of the City Council vision to promote thriving communities. And that's not a glib word. That is part one of the 4 objectives that the City Council adopted earlier this year. And that's about how we support and work with individuals and communities so that they can find opportunities, can thrive, feel pride, and contribute to a great city and make it even better in the future. Many of us have been working towards today in different ways for quite some time. And today feels like a really important step. And it's fitting that all of these elements are coming together today, just at the end of Black History Month. Symbolism on every front for us here today. So one of my tasks is just to recognize how a variety of different people have helped get us to this point and to this launch. So some thanks. First to the leader of the council and the councillors here today who have shown leadership in the council and amongst other communities. Particular thanks to Joseph. Didn't know you were going to be a producer as well. Add that to your list of talents that we all know about. Great stuff. Special thanks to the young people who put the track together and the video and exposing their lived experience. Really powerful and helpful for the people that will look at this video over coming weeks and months. I mean, I also like to thank the very many people, and there'll be quite a few on this live event today, but the many people that took part in focus groups and discussions to help shape what ended up in the charter and how it's focused and some of the action points that are there. I'm not sure I'll get the number right, but there was at least 15 different discussion groups in this process to get to this point, and that process is really important. That engagement and that people reveal thoughts and give views and ambitions. I mean, I'd also like to thank in particular Nadine Murtuja, who's not had a speaking part today or a starring part, but Nadine joined the City Council about a year ago and has been one of the driving forces behind this work and getting us to this point. So I want to recognize that. I mean, the video showcases two important points for us. One, it clearly identifies some of the issues that I hope we all agree we need to tackle, and it's helpful to have that laid out. But it also exposes the talent that exists with us in the city. And if we can just unleash that talent with the ideas and changes that need to happen, I mean, great things can happen over the next months and years. I mean, we need a city that works for everyone. We need to understand that being anti-racist is everyone's responsibility, not a particular role holder or community leader. And if we get this conversation right in the coming months, I think we will all look back on today and realize how important this occasion turned out to be. So that's why I urge you to sign this charter and be part of the conversation going forward. Now, in a moment, I'm going to invite everyone that's live today to do that symbolically. We'll do that together. But of course, this video will be viewed by many other people in the coming hours and days, and there will be an opportunity for people who watch this to add their signatures online, because not everyone can be here right now. So I think at this point, I would invite Susan Brown, the leader of the council, to sign the petition, first of all.
I'm proud today to have signed Oxford's Anti-Racism Charter on behalf of Oxford City Council. I would encourage other organisations within the city to do the same. It's an obvious commitment to tackling racism in all its forms across our communities, something that I hope we can all agree upon. I'd also like to thank all the people who've been involved in creating this anti-racism charter. We will be revisiting this every year. This has come out of discussions both within the council and with local communities affected by racism within the city. And I would commend it to people as an important read in order to start some of the debates that we need to have if we are to tackle racism in our society.
Good. That's the first signature. I'm going to do the same, and people may or may not have a copy of the charter in front of them, but I would invite everyone, like me, to actually sign the charter if you've got it in front of you, or symbolically sign on a piece of paper that can be added to the charter. And then I think what I'd like us to do, whether it's Celebrity Squares or University Challenge, it might, that look might be more appropriate for Oxford, I don't know. But actually, if people could switch on their videos, it would be good for everyone just to celebrate by holding up your signature. Let's sign it now, shall we?
Yeah, and I'd also like to just let everybody know that the European Network Against Racism have just signed the charter as well. So what happens in Oxford doesn't stay in Oxford, as we all know. It's wonderful to see that solidarity coming from Europe as well. And again, it just shows what we need to do in terms of spreading this message of anti-racism. And as you've said, Gordon, as everyone said so far, anti-racism belongs to everyone. It belongs to every single person in our city and to all communities.
And I still encourage people to put their camera on and actually just symbolically display your signature. Let's just hope we don't bounce the internet for doing this. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Claire.
I've done it electronically.
Excellent.
Sorry, I didn't get the things, but I shall sign definitely as a director of the Tel Mama in Thames Valley, and of course the what's it called, City of Sanctuary, Oxford City of Sanctuary. I sign it. God bless you all. Excellent job. Excellent job. Let's do it, and let's bring all equality to whole UK and beyond. God bless you all.
I think you've seen my signature, but well done to everyone who's put this together. And thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity for signing it. I haven't had a chance to run it past my congregation yet, so I can't sign it fully, but I can sign being absolutely committed to being part of the reviewing and developing of this charter. And as long as we all realise that it needs to be a continual process, I think it can only be successful. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, well done, guys.
I just wanted to thank everyone from Asylum Welcome. We have signed the charter and we are so proud of the work everyone has done. This is absolutely important to the work we do and everyone else, that everyone emphasize this is not just for those people from ethnic minority or with color. It's everyone's job, and I'm so proud of working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's such an important initiative for all citizens of Oxford, and it must be supported by all. And I fully endorse it, although I haven't read it fully. But as it's been said, it's a living document, and I'm committed, along with my colleagues, to contribute to its development further in due course.
Thank you.
I'm signing on behalf of the Oxford Council of Faiths, and we wholly support the work that's been done to develop this charter and wish to see it more widely spread throughout the city so that everyone knows of it and what it intends to bring to Oxford.
Thank you.
As a Lord Mayor of Oxford and Oxford's first citizen, very happy to sign this charter. The battle against racism and institutional bias, privilege and unconscious bias is something we can only win by working together, by collaborating, and it's a journey we must all make together. And it's something that, you know, this charter is a very important first step. So thank you very much for all those involved, and thank you to your introductions.
Thank you.
Black Lives Matter, don't forget that. That is one of the greatest things which we have to do, equality. Black Lives Matter.
So thank you everybody for signing this morning. And as we've all acknowledged here, this is a living document. This is the start of a conversation. We've repeated this many times this morning, this message, which is this is owned by all of us in the city. It needs to be owned by all of us. We all have a role to play, and we're really appreciative that each of you are here this morning. We have another message, I believe. Actually, maybe I'm misreading this, Gordon, so I'm sure you're going to correct me. But do we have another video from Susan?
No, that was her signing when she signed and gave the message. I think that was the.
I'm sure I'm not going to annoy my boss, at least, anyways. Good to know that video has been seen. Okay, so I just want to thank everybody again and say this has been a very emotional morning, I'm sure, for many of us. To see this progress being made is so important, and to hear those young people's voices has been very much, you know, really goes to the root of why we need to do this work. We have to be accountable to future generations. Anti-racism work is work in progress. It will take many generations to make the real long-lasting change we need to make. We know that we stand on the shoulders of giants. Each and every one of us does. So we should always remember the legacy of those who came before us, and we should think about those who will come after us as well. So thank you so much to each of you for being here. Let's all stay connected. Let's get this message out there, and let's all continue in our pledge and in our actions to be anti-racist and ensure our city is the same. Thank you very much.
Put your hand together for Charter.